Welcome back, YouTubers, for my channel of an everyday life of an Aspie. If you're following me right now at this point of time, I'm talking about the Asperger's syndrome and sleep series, basically, that will cover obviously the sleeping disorders and the types of them, of the disorders types versus the treatments, the causes of each of these sleeping disorders, basically, tips and advice about how to get a good night's sleep, as well as superfoods for basically to help combat insomnia. And no further ado though, guys, I want to address to you all on a topic called, what I'm going to call it, what happens when you sleep. So this is going to be just covering touch briefly about basically what happens when we sleep. As we know, it's important to have a good night rest, obviously, as I said before, basically, and we need now 6 to 7 hours of sleep each night. And every other tip that I gave you that is equivalent to actually have a good night rest. So no further ado though, guys, as we know, when we sleep well, we wake up fully refreshed, fully energized, ready to go, so to speak, and then we get bright, alert, and responsive for our everyday activities that are to be done in the morning leading up to the end of the day. As we know though, however, sleep affects us and how we look and feel and upon ourselves, as well as our performance on our daily of how we go about our everyday things. If we're too tired, sometimes our brains will go too mushy, as well as just us getting so tired to the point that our performance is to the low, and that obviously at that point when it's in the low, obviously performance wise, you tend to question why didn't you sleep in the first place, as well as not having that right amount of sleep and all that can overall cause a major impact on our overall quality of life. To get the most of our sleep, both quantity and quality are so important, however, when it comes down to sleeping. As I've noticed that I've done some research that in every different ages of us, we require different amount of hours of sleep, and it has been debatable about certain ages in life, as well as the stages in life, how much we should be sleeping, basically. And they say that when you are a newborn, obviously leading up to maybe say roughly 2-3 years old, basically they're supposed to be the ones with the most hours of sleep, 12 to 14 hours. Then once you get into the stage of primary school, it starts to decrease about roughly another extra 2 hours off that, so that's like 10 hours of sleep roughly for 3 to maybe 5 years, we could say. 5-year-olds to maybe say preteens, basically usually needs a little less than that again. Basically it will be about roughly 8-9 hours of sleep. And then when it comes down to the young adults to about maybe roughly to your 50s or what have you, or as they call it the middle age, basically we end up having to have like basically 7-8 hours of sleep. And then again it goes for the elderly too, so once you hit roughly into the 60s onwards, again like 7-8 hours of sleep. So basically, as I said before, obviously for the ages and stages, as I mentioned, teenagers obviously need that 8 hours of sleep, on average 9.25 hours a day, basically, or shall we say a night of interrupt sleep, to leave their bodies and minds rejuvenated for the next day. If sleep is cut short, the body doesn't have time to complete of all the phases it's needed for muscle repair, memory consolidation, and release of hormones regulating that growth and appetite. Then we wake up less prepared to concentrate and make the decisions throughout the day, as well as engage in full school and daily social activities when we're in that teen life. This is a classic example of those ages and stages. But if you want me to address more or have that picture somewhere, or give you the link to that picture that I found about those different ages and stages of people of that age groups with their sleeping hours, let me know below and I'll gladly send you the link, or have the link in my description anyway. Right, as we know, the question will be asked is, how does sleep contribute to all of the things that I've just mentioned, be it our daily activities versus our everyday thinking patterns and all that? As we know, the sleep architecture follows a pattern of alternating rapid eye movement or non-rapid eye movements sleep throughout a typical night, basically, when we sleep. And it obviously falls into a cycle that repeats itself about every 90 or so minutes. And as as the saying goes also for this, is what role does each state and stage of sleep play? Well, as you know, basically, or should know that for non-rapid eye movement, 75% of the night, as we begin to fall asleep, we will enter into that state of sleep, which will compose of the 4 stages, 1 to 4 stages. Stage number 1, this will be included as between being awake and falling asleep. These are the ones that are the light sleepers for stage 1. Stage 2 is an onset of sleep, becoming disengaged from the surroundings. Breathing and heart rate are obviously regular. Body temperature drops, so sleeping in a cool room is helpful for these people. And last but not least, for the stages 3 and 4, obviously, is basically this is the deepest and most restorative sleep of all for these 4 steps. Sort of, shall we say, 2 out of those 4 steps that I mentioned, basically, which your blood pressure will drop, basically your breathing will become slower, you know, your muscles are so relaxed, and that basically your blood supply will be, you know, given to your muscle will increase. Obviously, tissue growth and repair occurs at this stage, as well as energy is restored, as well as also the last but not least, hormones are released, such as your growth hormones, your essential growth for and growth development, including your muscle development. Like for the rapid eye movement, however, that's the other part of the percentage, which is the 25% of the night. First occurs basically about the 90 minutes again, similarly, you know. After falling asleep, it occurs about every 90 minutes, getting longer later in the night though. These usually occur, I think from memory, the light sleepers of what I'm bringing out here, and the contributing factors for this is basically for the rapid eye movement ones is it provides energy to the brain and the body. Basically, you're supporting your daytime performance. When your brain is active and your dreams will likely to occur, you know, and eyes dart back and forth usually in this stage. Body becomes immobile and relaxed as your muscles are switched off and just, you know, replenishing itself after a big hard day, so to speak. You know, in addition, levels of hormone of cortisol will usually, you know, dip at bedtime, you know, for this. And it will increase overnight though, however, to promote alertness in the morning. In addition to that though, sleep helps us to thrive by contributing to a healthy immune system, and can also balance our appetite by helping to regulate the basics of the levels of hormones of the ghrelin and leptin, which play a role in our feelings of hunger and fullness, obviously at this stage, you know. So when we are sleep deprived, however, you know, we may feel we need to eat more, and sometimes it will lead to weight gain, basically. So that's why studies I've researched says that when it comes down to people, you know, eating right on that, especially leading up to bedtime, always maybe have a lighter meal than you do in the day, maybe, even though like many people have agreed with me, maybe the way we set out our day is really for our Western society culture, that we just have a light breakfast, and then through the end of the day sometimes we have, you know, heavy meals. So maybe we should revert it around and actually have heavy meals during the breakfast time, and then maybe leading up to the end of the night have light meals, you know, so that it doesn't upset the sleeping pattern and everything else that goes on inside our bodies while we're asleep. The 1/3 of our lives that we spend sleeping, however, far from being unproductive, plays a direct role in how full, energetic and successful the other 2/3 of our lives can be. So basically that ends basically what happens when we sleep. Give me the like, full thumbs up for support basically. Also comment below if I've missed anything, or if you, like I said, if you want to just share your thoughts about my videos or whatever the case may be, feel free to comment below. Follow me on Twitter, Facebook, AspieAnswersAll basically. Subscribe to my channel for daily, weekly vlogs. Also share some videos around if you feel the need or have to for some of these videos around. Thanks for your support, thanks for watching. Love what you do, do what you love. Until next time, I'll see you all again soon.